Oh, it's cold. Oh, it's cold in here. All right, today we're going to do a different kind of review video. Usually when we do the reviews, they're in groups, but this is a special review because this is a reissue. And we've never done a reissue, so we're going to make it special. I went and pulled some of my other winter horror books out, books with winter settings, lots of snow and ice, and we're going to show those after the review. So here we go with the review of Cold Front by Barry Hammond. All right, we got this here review copy of Cold Front by Barry Hammond, which is being reissued by Fathom Press. We usually hold up the book, but since we have this coverless book here, we're going to go ahead and plop up the original there. It was originally published by Signet in 1982, and the original artwork was done by Tom Hallman. For this reissue, there will be new artwork by Stephen Andrade, who did a lot of the covers for Fathom Press that they've already done. We'll put those up there right now. This reissue of Cold Front by Barry Hammond is at a pre-order right now, but it's set to come out at the end of January, early February 2025. So you can get your pre-order in now. fathompress.com. All right, the basic premise: 3 oil riggers are drunk in Canada and broke one night. I'm sure it's a rare occurrence. While trying to acquire more drinking money, they hit up their boss for an advance. They don't appreciate the response he gives them. Some actions are taken, and now they must head out to the sticks to dispose of those mistakes. They get lost, they come upon a cabin with a lone creepy girl, and horror ensues. Before we even get started, I had a difficult time trying to put my finger on how to describe this writing style. There was something very familiar about it. In my notes I wrote, it's almost literary with sparse, quick prose, but that wasn't exactly it. And then I read Barry Hammond's afterword, which, man, I loved it. I loved that the afterword explains kind of everything. And he said one of his inspirations at this time was Charles Bukowski. Hammond says, I aspired to make art that could be lowbrow and highbrow at the same time. And then it all just fell into place because it was very poetic, it was very crude, and it was very clever at the same time. And he just nails the feel. It was like reading, like if Bukowski wrote horror novels. We start off with the setting appropriate for a book named Cold Front. There's snowstorms, there's shitty cars, there's shitty drunk oil riggers drunk at a bar. All 3 have different ethnic backgrounds. One is a Native American. It's in Canada, but it's Native American is named after the continent. The second one is Ukrainian, and the third is a Frenchman. All 3 love to drink, and they are unfortunately out of money. They go to their boss for an advance. He mouths off to them. Jimmy, the Native American, doesn't appreciate the derogatory terms thrown at him, so he picks up a bottle and smashes it over the guy's face. Now they're not really sure what to do. They know that this boss is going to fire them, press charges, whatever. They try to fix it. He gets up, insults them some more, threatens them. The Frenchman beats the shit out of him. He's unconscious. They say, hey, while we're here, let's check out what's going on in this office. I bet there's money. They find a huge stash of money and a bunch of liquor. And they're like, well, we're going to jail, so we might as well just take it to the limit, take him out of his misery. They decided to kill him, take all the money and all the liquor. They're going to drop him off in the middle of nowhere and then come back to work. Pretend nothing ever happened. The snow covers them up. They're never even going to find the body until spring. And it's all good. They drive throughout the night. One by one, they pass out. They're wasted. They've been chugging scotch. Next morning, they get up. They don't know where they're at. Everything's covered in snow. There's no way they can get out. The car won't even start. And worst of all, the body is missing from the trunk. There's no footsteps around. What happened to the guy? It doesn't matter. These guys are pretty apathetic. They don't really care too much about what's happening at this point. They trek it all day through the wilderness. They come upon a cabin. It looks empty. Inside the cabin is a strange, very pale, very attractive woman. All right, so there we are. That's where we're at. We're not going to say much more because the best part about this book is the suspense. You know what's going to happen. I mean, you know that shit's going to happen, but you don't know why it's happening or how it's going to happen. You are right there with them as the weirdness unfolds. They are seemingly not in any danger at first, but they are trapped and unable to run or know when to run. It's like when you get sick. At what point do you call the doctor? Do you wait it out? Is everything going to be okay? Or do you go to the doctor now? They don't know. So they're just waiting it out. Another great aspect of this book is the three main characters. They are not even anti-heroes. These dudes are despicable people. I did enjoy Jimmy, the Native American guy. He is my favorite. He has this like humorous, apathetic take on everything that's happening. It's like it's watching it through someone else's eyes. We have John, the Ukrainian, who's a huge brute. He hates women, specifically his wife, who he says is a lesbian now. He also hates his children and pretty much the world in general. And then we have Ken, the Frenchman. He has the most common sense, but he has no problem doing bad shit, doing what it takes to survive. And Ken is absolutely enamored by this odd, pale beauty that is in the cabin. The woman in the cabin is beyond creepy, completely unsettling. She'll stare off, kind of space out. She answers in these short sentences. She sits there with a little smirk on her face, like she knows something that you don't. There's some bad shit outside. Is she connected to it? Why the hell is she so white? Where's her fingernails? Why doesn't she have fingerprints? They describe her as being so white that she's practically translucent. What is she even doing there? Why doesn't she have any clothes on? She walks around with almost no clothes on. She goes outside naked a lot. She's incredibly attractive. Ken cannot help but want a piece of that. The fellas all think that there is something wrong with her. Maybe she's a little slow. But they still all agree that she's very attractive. And what's really cool is it's not going to go where you think it's going to go. Up until the final leg of this story, the book kind of reminded me in tone and feel of Dennis Johnson, Jesus' Son. If you've ever read that, it's about this kind of junkie and just terrible people. And there's all these short chapters, and each chapter is kind of contained. And that's how this is. Each chapter is short and punchy, and it almost has a distinct beginning, middle, and end. There's absolutely zero filler in this. All the fat is cut. It's very lean. Like I said, it's almost literary prose. It's intelligent and clever and crude. There's lots of farting and pants peeing. Jimmy's peeing his pants and just walking around in it the whole book. These guys are drunk, hard living, hard working. I don't want to say losers because they're functional, you know? They have thick skin, drink hard liquor constantly. They talk to each other in this working class tough manner. Nothing's offensive to them. And what's cool about it is you're not necessarily rooting for them. You're not rooting for anyone. There's no heroes in this book. There's no star. The people aren't likable, but they are interesting. The ending of this is a fever dream nightmare worthy of a David Lynch movie, which is very high praise for me because I fucking love Lost Highway. You don't even know what is reality anymore. I cannot believe how much I love this. And I know what you're thinking. We watched that Fathom Press unboxing video. We know you got sent this for free, Nick, and you want more free shit. And you know what? I do want more free shit. But that is not why I'm giving this a good review. This has 100% earned this wonderful review. It is everything that I'm looking for in a book. I am the target demographic of this book. 100%. Straight, white dude, working class, kind of dumb, kind of crude, alcoholic, former, but still, I get it. The only way I could be even more of a target demographic for this book is if I was Canadian. This is one of the best horror books I have ever read. The atmosphere, the lore, the violence, the language. I'm telling you, this was written for me. This is going to be a top 10 of this year. I guarantee it. So here we go, thumbs up. What kind of thumb up? Oh, we're freezing. It's a freezing thumb up. Hey, look, there's 2 freezing thumbs up. One of them's really white. Oh, they're both really white. Damn it. All right, so yeah, you can get that at fathompress.com. It's on the pre-order now. Go order it. 100% worth it. One of the best horror books I have ever read. You get my seal of approval. So now we're going to do a little showcase here of winter horror. Celebrate the oncoming season, even though it's not really cold yet, but it's gonna be. It's gonna be snowy, and you want a good snowy book to read. And we're gonna start with number 1, Snowman, Norman Bogner. I know. I wish I had the New English Library cover. I got the boring cover, but let me tell you how important this book is. I am a big fan of B horror movies, and B movies in general, B action, whatever. And one day I was like, I wonder if there's a book version of B movie horror. So I went to my local bookstore, Bookman's in Mesa, Arizona at the time, and I found this here, Snowman. And I loved it. And this book right here started everything. I didn't have any of this. This started my love for vintage genre fiction. It is awesome, bad. It's hilariously bad. It's a horror book mixed with like men's adventure. Like the main hero gets his Vietnam buddies back together and they go out to the mountains to kill this Yeti who's like part metal and he's got these giant metal teeth and like he chews people up and it's fucking gore and guts everywhere. And it's pretty goddamn amazing. It's also slow at times. I don't want to build it up that bad, but this book means a lot to me. So Snowman, number 1, great winter read. Number 2, not so much. Jane Williamson, Evil Offspring. I started reading this one because it takes place in Dayton, Ohio. At least it starts there. And I was like, hey, that's where I'm from. And then it goes on to, I think, Indianapolis or whatever. I don't know, because I stopped reading it because it was so boring. It's so bad. He just sucks. I don't know. I know some people like him, but I think most people don't. And there's a good reason. Speaking of which, here's another Jane Williamson. Famously made our worst of 80s horror paperback list video. The Monastery. I already talked about this on that one, but it does have a wintry atmosphere. So, it was definitely better than that last one, though. And it has this cool owl on the cover. How can you go wrong? This next one I haven't read. Earthbound. Logan Swanson. That's somebody else. Damn it, I wish I would have looked it up. All right, I'm not going to stop. I'll just put it up there. Earthbound is about this here wintry cabin. Once again, cabin in the wintry woods. Read this here since I don't know what it's about. It was going to be their second honeymoon, Ellen and David thought. So when they decided to go back to Logan Beach to rent a cottage in the dead of winter, they expected to find the peace and privacy that would heat their now failing marriage. But Mariana was there now, in their cottage, beautiful, unearthly Mariana, bound to the place by unspeakable horrors from her past. Soon she would lure Ellen and David into a nightmare of demonic lust that neither of them had the power to resist. I don't know. I'm really interested to know who that is. I'm going to know. When I put this together, I'm going to know. Here's another one that I haven't read. Icefire, Robert C. Wilson. Look at the size of that sucker. Oh, man, I hate tackling on those big fat ones. So I don't know if we'll ever get to it, but we do have it just in case we want to. So I haven't read this one either, but I know it takes place in a snowy setting. Go ahead and read this one. A psychotic killer maddened with bloodlust, kept under 24-hour guard in a special prison for the criminally insane on an isolated Great Lakes island. That's cold. Great Lakes Island is cold. A doctor with a mission who refuses to believe that there are some evils that even science cannot understand or control. A man, a woman, an 11-year-old boy, fleeing across the frozen lakes from a blood-maddened horde, unleashed upon an unsuspecting world, fleeing for their lives from the terror of ice fire. A little black metal for you, because black metal's cold. Ice fire. Here's another excellent wintry horror book, The Owl's Fane Horror. We talked about this once again in our worst of list, but this wasn't a worst of. We were talking about another Duffy Stein. This one was great. This is a great book. This takes place in Vermont. There's lots of skiing and horror. It's a ghost house, haunted house mystery, and I loved it. And we're not going to do the mouth joke again. We already did that bit. We already did that bit in the other video, so. Unholy Goddess. Oh, look at that cover. This takes place in New York City during a snowstorm. But the snowstorm isn't central to the plot like it is kind of in the other ones. But it is snowy. New York City covered in ice. This is an Aztec horror book. And the beginning was good. And the end was good. And then, like, this much of it is boring. Unfortunately, I know it's heartbreaking to see such a great cover and hear that it's boring, but I don't know. Check it out. Maybe you'll like it better than I did. Unholy Goddess. Great cover, though. Next up, I see people post sometimes when they're like, I got all these great new horror books. So I'm including it here. And I just want to tell you that this is not a horror book. A Killing Frost, Christopher Leach. This is 100% a thriller. It does take place in the wintertime. There's some people on a train. Train breaks down in the middle of nowhere, snowstorm, and they're trapped in their car. And it's them surviving. It's a survival book. It's not horrific at all. It's pretty slow. I remember it being pretty tedious. So I just wanted to put that out there so people don't buy it thinking that it's a horror book, because it's not. But if you like thrillers, locked in the room thrillers, this might be for you. We got 30 Days of Night here, the novelization, Alaska vampires. That Harknett guy, I think is his name, stars in the movie. I really like that movie, actually. I'm not a big vampire fan, but it was pretty fun. The visuals of all the blood on the snow, I thought worked really well. I have this graphic novel, X-Files 30 Days of Night crossover that, why didn't I grab? So here it is, 30 Days of Night novelization. Here's a great book that's going to be on our best of 90s horror paperback list. It's Loose, Warner Lee. Bad Taste Books had this on his top 10 list, which he copied from me. Copyright notice, motherfucker. Just kidding. I love Brian. He's awesome. It's Loose. It's about... Settle down, Nick. It's about this island in the winter off the East Coast. And the water freezes around it, so there's no boats can come in or out. And there is a demon inhabiting bodies and then making them kill. So there's like a serial killer loose on the island, but it's jumping bodies, huge body count, and this cop trying to chase it down. It's a really good book. This is a really great winter read. Up next, we got a serious, bona fide classic. John W. Campbell's Who Goes There? Let's get a close-up of that wintry cover. Oh, man. I think most people know this is the book that the movies The Thing from Another World, Horror Express, and John Carpenter's The Thing. It's all based off of this short story. It is most similar to John Carpenter. John Carpenter pretty much did it just like this book here. Obviously, he took it up to the 80s and put a bunch of cool, gory stuff in there, but it's essentially the same story. Most of the characters are the same. Kurt Russell's character isn't in there. He's they created him as a split between two other characters. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't read this, it is amazing. It's one of the best horror stories. I think it's actually my favorite. This is my favorite winter horror story right here. Unbelievably good. That cover. And then the original winter horror story, The Mountains of Madness, H.P. Lovecraft. Everyone knows Mountains of Madness. You're up in the Antarctic or down. Is Antarctic up or down? I don't know. You're in the Antarctic, traveling through the ice caverns, ancient evil. This has the best winter atmosphere. It is so a part of the plot. And if you haven't read it, why not? What's your problem? Pick up Mountains of Madness. Read it so you can understand the greatness of H.P. Lovecraft. And that's all. Thanks for watching. Like I said, go buy Cold Front from fathompress.com. You will not be sorry. See you later.